right, Randy.
All right, are we ready? If you're on with us a few minutes early, we wanted to kind of give you a chance to help get our supplies ready for us. So, if you don't have it ready, here's your chance to be able to get the stuff. We need a bin that has some water in it. We've got some paper, and we're going to talk about this during our session too. We've got old homework, we have junk mail, we have printer paper that's left over, and we're going to be using that and tearing it into pieces to be able to make our recycled paper that's going to go in this bin. You also need plastic cups. If you have plastic cups, the ones that are shorter and have wider mouths work pretty well. So those are kind of the best ones to be able to use. Also, if you're on early, we haven't talked about this before, but if you are on this Facebook Live session, we want you to be able to share it with others that might be interested to be a part of it. So we have our Facebook page pulled up here. The easiest way to share that is if you will hit the like and the follow in the share buttons on the top of our page. That will help other people in part of your network be a part of this group as well.
So we're on a few minutes early, but it allows time for people to get on. So, oh, I see Amy is on. Hi, Amy. Brenda. Hi, Brenda. Oh, our North Carolina friends. Hi, guys. So our lesson today is going to be paper pots. Plant your homework. Gotta love that.
And just like in the past, if you're jumping on now, if you're an elementary student with us, we would love for you to let us know what city and state you're joining us from.
Yeah, we're live today from Randy's backyard. So,
and it's a beautiful spring day here in Texas, isn't it?
Y'all may hear the dove in the background, dove and birds. Anyway, we'll get a couple minutes for people to hop on and get your supplies and materials together. I hope you guys, some of you I know have done your plant people. I saw a few of them. I know a couple of people we're waiting on seeds, so I hope that you were able to get those, or will be able to get them soon. I posted a picture of my plant person that we did live that day. He kind of looks like COVID hair, you know, it's a little crazy going everywhere. So, but anyway, hope you guys are having fun. Alex says hi from Michigan. It is snowing again this morning. Wow.
Not quite planting season for that part of the country.
A little early, right?
This is perfect for you, ma'am, because we are going to have a chance to be able to show you how to get a head start on the season. So these are some seed starts we'll do indoors for when it is time to plant later this spring for you guys.
That's awesome. And if you look in the comment section, Karen has a reminder about the supply list and you know, some information. We have a group of our JMG state coordinators and our extension staff that are on the comment section to be able to answer any questions you might have or direct you to local extension resources that you might have in your county or in your state. So we are excited for you guys to be on.
All right, are we ready?
I think we're
What's our
about
time? Are we
ready.
close?
Okay.
Are we start time?
I think so.
What is growing on, Junior Master Gardeners? We are glad that you are back with us again for this week. We are already at week 6, and you have been working so hard and learning a lot. So I just want to remind you, we're almost at a halfway point with these sessions. If you are able to take part with all of our sessions and complete the activities, you can actually earn a Junior Master Gardener certification in plant growth and development with us too.
And who do you have with you today, Randy?
This is my daughter, Ellie, and she's a part of the Junior Master Gardener group with you. And what were you going to say?
And today we have a cool project for you. We're going to show you how you can plant your homework.
I love it.
It's not too late to have your friends join if you want. And so the easiest way to do that is to have your parents like and share on their Facebook page.
So Ellie, was planning the homework your idea? I have to know.
It was mostly his, but I helped.
You provided the pages, right?
At least since we have new people who just jumped on with us, would you zoom into the Facebook page? We want to show where that is, because this is a great way we've been able to have lots of people. Everybody on this call right now, this Facebook Live session, is a part of the largest Junior Master Gardener group in the world. We have over 1,000 elementary students that are part of this effort. So if we can have them jump on our page and just click on like and to be able to share that page, that helps get the word out so we can have more folks join.
Oh, Ellie, you have some friends. Eleanor and Violet said they're so excited you're back on the session today. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, be sure and follow our page, because then you'll get the information and share it with others that might be interested.
Okay, so Ellie made mention of planting the homework, and we really are going to be doing that. So I don't know if you have some paper on the ready, if you're going to do this with us or not, but if you have some, the first step is to take your paper. And we have these are like grocery store flyers. We have junk mail that's a part of this batch, and we're going to tear it up into small pieces like this. Ellie's going to work with me, and we're going to just dump it into our bin.
And Ellie has some homework in there.
This is literally some Ellie homework that's in here. My wife teaches, it's part of her classes, old
guess
homework.
What? Ellie, we have Bonnie from Liverpool, United Kingdom.
Oh, welcome, Bonnie. We're glad you're here. Bonnie, we're going to want to see your paper pot that you make with our social
Oh,
hashtag.
not Bonnie, Catherine. Hello from
Catherine.
Bonnie.
Catherine, welcome, Catherine. We're glad you're here too. Okay, so as we tear it up into small pieces, we're going to let it get nice and wet. Ellie, what's our tips with this? Making it nice and wet, make sure it's in small pieces.
Sometimes if it's hard to tear it, if you like dip it in the water first, it might be easier to tear and just kind of like try to soak it and maybe tear it a little bit more while it's in the water. That will help it.
Oh, Amy Figgett had a good tip. She said if you have a paper shredder that you could put it in your shredder to be able to.
And Amy is one of our friends too, and she would know this. This is great because this is a way we can take stuff that some people trash or recycle and just recycle it for our home use. And we're going to do this because it is a great way for us to save some money in the garden and make planting easier, and we kind of consider it to be a garden upgrade.
And last week we talked about planting seeds, but this week we're going to be talking about transplanting and seeds.
Okay, so this is what we're talking about. If you're in a place right now where it's too early to be able to plant, we are going to make paper pots. And the cool thing is, I want to share this with you guys. Have you folks ever seen these? These are made out of some type of organic material. Sometimes it's paper product, sometimes it's a peat product. But what's cool about these pots is you can start your seeds in these pots. We'll fill them with soil, start the seeds, and then when they get a few inches tall and they get at least their second set of leaves, you can plant these directly into the garden.
Can I see the bottom of those, Randy?
The bottom of these have a hole, and what do you think these holes are for? All plants, regardless of what they are, if they're going to have water, they also need to have drainage. So these already have some
Oh, here's a
holes.
question.
Yes.
They wanted to know if maybe you could use a blender to puree the paper.
The answer is yes, if your mom and dad will let you do that. Here's our tip. If you're going to use a blender from your home, make sure there's plenty of water, because the more water you have, the less that the blender has to work. But a blender is a really good idea. And we kind of call our consistency here kind of a lumpy oatmeal consistency for our paper pulp. Okay, so we're ready to start. We're going to take plastic cups. Ellie's got hers, I've got mine. We are going to get a handful, and the trick here is to get a handful, kind of a layer like this onto your hand, and we're going to hold the cup in a downward kind of slant so the water can drain, and push it down on one side. And when you do that, you get one layer in that one little section. But the other trick, like I said, is hold it downward to where it kind of drain the entire time that it's working, okay? Another handful, press it on the side. You may have to fold it over and move stuff around. What's great is if you are really good about holding this over your bin and you're pointing it downward like I am, having it slant downward, you're really not making a mess. You're not even making a mess with this. It's kind of falling back into the bin.
So you do the sides first.
So we like to cover all the sides all the way around. And then the last step is to put a layer of paper on the bottom of the cup as well. But just like we noticed in these paper pots that you can buy, we're going to do the same things in the ones that we're making out of our recycled paper, and we're going to form a little hole in the bottom using just your finger or using a pencil. So we'll get those in those places here. We'll kind of press that stuff down as well. I'm going to add a little more paper to ours.
Yeah,
Ellie?
we can tear some more.
And then before you're really finished with this, sometimes you think it's kind of good because you've got a nice paper shape along the sides, the edges of your cup. But go through one more time and press it, and you'll get more of that water out. Thank you, Ellie, for adding more paper for me to be able to add to the bottom of my cup. I'm going to take some and form it on the bottom as well.
How
so we don't want to
thick
be.
do you want it to be?
Yeah, I was about to say that. We don't want it to be too thick because really we're going to have this paper be able to break apart when it gets into the garden space for the roots to be able to go through. And so we look at what we have as an example here for the store-bought type. Those are pretty thin. They're pretty tight and they're pretty dense, but they're pretty thin layers. So going back to the idea is as we finish this off, if we press it like this and we put more of that water out that kind of drains out when we do this, it also helps to make those sides a little bit more tight and a little bit more dense. Okay, so it kind of looks like this. I'm going to use my scissors here, Ellie, to make my little hole in the bottom.
Do you cut
of our
through
cup.
the plastic, Randy?
You can cut through the plastic, but you don't really even have to do that.
Can we see what you did?
I'm going to try to make a little hole in mine. I've got a solid piece here. I think I messed up my little layer, so I may need to have another little layer to fill in my little space there. But we're just going to use our scissors to kind of create that hole in the paper at the
Maybe
bottom.
you can show one that you've already done and show how you have it on the bottom.
So, yeah, and we'll show that in just a moment. So you have a cup full of wet paper. On a day like this where it's sunny, if this sits out in the sun, light, to be honest, when we were drying ours yesterday to make the samples for you, we set them on the hood of our car, and those dry pretty quickly in a warm summer day. If they're going to be inside, drying inside your house, you can put them in a warmer place, and a place with a little bit of ventilation, they'll probably dry within a couple days' time. But the idea is we're going to take these and just forget about them for a few days, and what happens is we have these pots, and we'll zoom in on what these look like. And you can identify some of the parts of the homework and the newsprint that's a part of these as well. And so we did the same thing that we talked about a minute ago,
Let me see
and
the
having
bottom. There
the
we go.
holes there. It doesn't have to be a big hole, just enough for the water to be able to drain out, because seeds like to stay slightly wet. Most of them don't like to be sopping wet. So this allows them to be able to drain a bit, okay? So this is one that we made. We're kind of fast forwarding from the one Ellie's finishing up here to what it looks like
So
here.
how long did it take for it to completely dry? A day?
Ours took about a day, but this is again some sunnier, warmer weather, so it may take a few days if it's going to be indoors. So with this, we use an example of one we've already pre-filled with soil. So at this point, it's just like a normal pot. And as our example, we are going to take some squash seeds. Who out there likes to eat squash? I'm kind of curious if we have anybody that replies to the yes for eating squash. And I'm going to put a seed, we're going to just put it into that soil, bury it. We mentioned this before too. The depth that we usually plant seeds is about twice of how wide that seed is. And we're going to water that to where it's nice and saturated. I'll make about 4 of these usually and put them on a tray together, and the tray is good so when it does drain, the water collects and doesn't make a mess in a place that it's not supposed to be.
So really, what you guys are doing is creating your own transplant. So
We're
those
creating our transplants and
yeah.
starting seeds inside. So we were kind of joking before, but if they're in the northern part of the country and it is still snowy, we have friends that were joining us from Nebraska as well. They can't plant right now. They're probably not going to be able to plant until next month.
Christina said Brooks likes squash.
Brooks, way to go, Brooks. Hey, so have her reply. What's her favorite way to eat? I'm just curious. Eat squash. Do you chop it up? Do you put it in salad? Do you eat it raw? Do you
Ellie, what
fry it?
about you?
I would like to chop it up, but I'm not a big fan of squash.
It's not your favorite.
No.
But you'll try it, right?
I'll try it.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to fast forward again, Lisa. Here's our cup we just planted. Let's imagine probably 3 or 4 weeks has passed. This has been inside, it's been started inside, and the squash has grown to look like this. So to be honest, as this paper cup starts to grow, sometimes it will crumble apart a bit, and we're going to have to be careful with it. But the cool thing about this is a fragile cup, but it's also holding a fragile seedling. So we're going to show this group how to go out to our garden and put this in
If you
the
guys
ground.
will look real close, notice how the bottom leaves look different. Those were the seed leaves, or the cotyledons. When the seed opened up, that was those. And so the other leaves are what's called the true leaves. So you can see that they look different. And so when you get true leaves on it, that's when you know that it's getting close to being ready to set out.
Does this look like some buds starting to form at the top of that as well?
Some right there.
Maybe so. Maybe
Wow.
so. Okay, so we're going to move out to the garden. Lisa, you're going to follow us out.
Randy, one thing that Kevin Laughlin had brought up is that when you start transplants, sometimes they may need to harden off before you take them outside. And so if you've been growing them in a real protected environment, if you can kind of gradually just set them outside so they get a little more used to being outside before you stick them directly in the garden, that's a good hint. Thanks, Kevin, for
That is a
reminding
good.
us.
Kevin from Idaho is one of my favorite gardeners out there. Thank you for that, Kevin. So we're going to go out to the garden area. You can grab our board that has our hashtag on, and we're going to show them how to plant our transplant. And I've also brought a normal transplant, how you transplant that one as well. And I'm curious, Lisa, have the group tell us have you done any transplanting before? Have you taken a plant that's growing in a pot and transplanted it to plant it into a garden area? I want to see if anybody responds.
How many have planted a vegetable or other kind of transplant? Could be a herb. I'm going to walk around here so I can get in there to watch Randy. Look at all the mint and things he has growing back here. Y'all are getting a wild adventure of Randy's garden, including the pomegranate. Okay.
Make it through the jungle?
I'm making it through the jungle. Here we go. Awesome.
All right. So, if you're going to use a transplant, you're planting it to the garden, one of the great things about transplants is they automatically give you some maturity to your garden. So we could plant basil seed right now, but it would take some time for the basil to grow to this size. So if you've never planted transplants before, you have to be a little bit careful with them. And so here's the technique. We're going to kind of do our little V with our fingers to be able to hold the plant in place.
Okay.
We're going to put our fingers through the stems. We're going to hold it upside down, squeeze gently around the edges, and when you do that, and we'll jostle a little bit, the plant comes out.
So guys, why would you do that instead of just pulling it out? What do y'all think?
We want to be pretty careful not to damage the roots, damage the plant.
You could
and
break
this one,
the stem.
look at this one, listen, this one's really kind of been growing a little bit longer than it wants to inside this pot, hasn't it? It's become a little bit more root bound, curling up in that little space too. So this guy's going to be much happier and be able to grow because it has more space.
Sometimes if they're really starting to go round and round like that, you can actually tear a little bit of the roots at the bottom.
And we'll move it a little bit around too, not too much damage. These roots aren't really that fragile. When you have ones that are smaller like that for seedlings, those are the fragile roots you have to be a little more careful about. But like Lisa said, we can kind of massage these a little bit and break them a little bit at the bottom. It helps encourage them to start growing. So when we plant something in the ground, we transplant, you're going to make a hole that really is just a little bit larger than the root ball of the plant itself. We don't want to plant it any deeper. We're going to have the level of the plant be the same level of the garden space around it. And I'm just going to take it and fill it in with soil.
And the soil you took out is the soil you put back in, okay?
And so as soon as we can get to our water hose here in a moment, we're going to make sure to give this guy water, and we're going to keep it moist.
So you're just tapping it down really good?
We're just kind of firming it up because sometimes when you put soil back into a hole, there'll be air spaces that are in the soil that you can't see. And if we do that, it helps to collapse those because the roots like to grow in the soil, and we don't want big gaps of air in the soil around it. So that wasn't that hard, was it, being able to pull it out of this plastic cup? And again, transplants help you get a head start on the season to be able to have more mature gardens. But Ellie wants to show you how to actually transplant our paper pot. And there's something that makes it a little bit easier.
So for this one, you can just start by digging the hole about the same height as your plant that you're transplanting.
That root ball. And she's going to dig it out. And again, same thing we did with this first one, is it's really not much larger, slightly larger than the plant itself. Maybe a tiny bit deeper, do you think, Ellie?
Yeah.
Get one more scoop out below. I think maybe a tiny bit deeper. Because we don't want it to be sitting above the level of our garden. There you go.
Oh, you know what? Caden says he's going to try squash now. That's awesome.
All right, Caden. Caden, we want you, that'd be a cool thing to share. We talk about some of our social media that our junior master gardeners share with each other. And if you do that, we would love to see a picture of you posting our hashtag JMGKidsFB Live and show us tasting.
Notice how Ellie did a really good job of making sure that the top of the pot was fully covered. Why would we want to do that? What do you think?
We talk about this in our groups too with these types of pots. Sometimes if the paper is sticking out of the soil, that sticking out of the soil kind of draws moisture away from the plants and kind of wicks it out into the air. So if you put it in the ground, it's really good to have that newspaper be completely covered by the soil as well. So again, our next step is to water these guys around the edges, keep it nice and moist, not sopping crazy wet, but just enough to keep them moist as they begin to grow. Okay? So, Junior Master Gardeners, we say this every time, but one of your jobs, one of your service projects you get to do as being a part of this group is share with others what you know. So if you are going to do this project with us, if you're going to work on our Junior Master Gardener certification in plant growth and development, we want to see some pictures along the way, and Facebook is a great way to share those. So if you post a picture of you making the pots, if you putting seeds in your pots, even a few weeks from now planting your pots, we would love for you to share that on Facebook or other social media. And our hashtags is, show them again, Ellie, so we can kind of see that up close. The one we seem to use really each week is the JMG Kids FB Live with the hashtag in front of that. But this week's is hashtag JMG paper pots.
Okay, and
Okay.
a reminder that one of the things that you guys will do for certification is some sort of a service project. You might make extra paper pots and give them to people in your neighborhood that don't have containers to start their own plants. So that is a really good way that you could share your gardening expertise with them and give them some pots to get some things started in their gardens at
Just
home.
like Kevin was doing a few minutes ago, right? He was sharing some of his gardening know-how with people around us, and so we're learning from that. That's great to be able to share, and we like our Junior Master Gardeners to do the same thing, and that's part of the culture. What we do is have JMG service be a part of everything that we do and we learn. Okay, so we want to point back to the website. So if you want to get ready for our next Thursday's session, this week is going to be learning about some cool plant science, right? Lisa, monocots and dicots.
Yeah, monocots and dicots. So check that out. Your supply list is on the front of the JMG website.
jmgkids.us/FB Live. The supplies listings are always there. And then also, if you missed this session, if you want to go back and watch another one, we have links to those sessions and last sessions listed on that page too. So if you do have a friend that wants to join us, even at this point, they can go back and watch the previous sessions, take part in those activities to catch up.
Randy, there was a question about how much do you water these?
That is an important question for gardening. If you can water it just often enough to keep it slightly moist. So the great way to do that is simply doing the finger test. We'll stick in a couple of knuckles deep on the finger test, because I can water this right now and put a splash of water and it looks like it's wet, but it's really only about this deep of water. And we saw how deep the roots are there. So if you can really check it every few days, especially if you have some warmer days where it hasn't been rain, and just do the finger test to make sure the soil area, that soil area is staying
And remember,
slightly
in those
moist.
sunny locations, they can dry out quickly, and especially new transplants, you want to be sure that they really get watered well, so that they get established.
That's right, and don't forget, with this squash area, we have to plant it. It's a vegetable, so we plant it in the garden. We talk about our space needs and our water needs. We also have to have light needs. So any vegetable plants that we grow, we always make sure they have at least 6 hours of sunlight every day.
Okay.
All right, ready to wrap up? We want to say thank you for being a part of it. Go to the Facebook page and click on like and share so other people can be aware of it.
And a huge
we'll
thank you to our online experts that were helping today. We had lots
You
of
guys
people
rock.
helping. That's awesome.
All right, we'll see you on Thursday.
Sounds great. Bye. Have a great day.